Hello YouTube, this is Morgan Airspeed Prime here with my next Avatar news update video. So a couple of things to cover. I think it's going to be pretty interesting. We'll start off with the sort of embargo, which is why this video is releasing at this time. Avatar Legends Realms Collide sent me another video to release to kind of coincide with their next kind of stage of marketing. And so that is this video here, which is basically just meant to sort of mark the fact that finally Apple iOS pre-orders for the game have gone live in the same way that the Android ones have been up for quite a while now. So the video itself, I don't think there's anything particularly impressive in it. It shows a little bit of gameplay, which is a kind of first for one of the trailers. You can see here they're the main buildings, depending on what nation you choose at the start. Then they run through the leaders of each of the nations. Basically, the kind of hero unit you get at the start when you choose each of those elements. Keep in mind, you can still get Zuko if you don't choose fire. It just takes a little bit longer. Whereas, of course, if you start with fire, you get Zuko straight away. That's basically just the idea there. Then you can see some of the building here, Hall of Avatars, some of the kind of army kind of type things where you can kind of get your units from. You can see it here, like this is where you get your air units from, your earth units. Regardless of which nation you choose, you still have armies of all four nations, because the whole idea of the game is that the different characters lead an army of units from their nation. So your base has to have the ability to produce all four nations, of course. I think you get bonuses to what your kind of actual home element is, but that's just the idea there. As we move through, you can see, yeah, a little bit of this kind of cinematic kind of cutscene style thing here with Chan Yu here leading the Shattered Skulls. Then there's some of the more kind of like gameplay style thing. This is basically just the animation that happens when you do one of the kind of combat style modes, which is that your team of four fight the kind of Shattered Skulls, and it's basically just a power comparison type thing. It only takes a couple of seconds. It's nothing particularly fancy, just to make it clear that the gameplay of this game is mostly this sort of, you know, like clicking, building your things, activating timers to get more units and that sort of thing. This is the action, effectively, of the game. Then we end with a kind of an interesting one here, which is Aang looking up at the sky, and coming out of the sky seems to be Father Glowworm. So I'm guessing this is the actual kind of influence of Father Glowworm himself, rather than just the power of Glowworm that Chan Yu has, because he's kind of spirit possessed, spirit morphed, whatever way you want to call it. But the main thing of this trailer is, of course, pre-order on the App Store. That's a new thing. Finally, that seems to be available, and it should be up when the embargo goes live, and it's always been pre-register on Google for the last while. Along with that, they did send me the link to the App Store page, and you can see it here, App Store preview. Obviously, it'll look different actually doing this on like your iPad or iPhone, but this is just the computer version of the site. You can see pre-order. There is an expected date, and I'll get to that in just a second. Here you can see they have the same trailer that I just played for you in different sizes, a bunch of other images. The one at the end is kind of interesting, because if you look at this, you can see it's obviously Amon is going to be in the game, obviously, but they show us what seems to be maybe a few seconds later from where we end the trailer. So you can see we saw this here. But a few seconds later, I guess the camera pans out a little bit more. Glowworm shows himself a little bit more. You can see the eye symbol here. You can see the rest of the sort of socket, in a way, of the eye coming around, the kind of veins, as Glowworm is described, of course, and Aang ready to kind of confront him in a way. Again, the story is non-canon, so Aang canonically has not actually confronted Glowworm. This is its own kind of alternate universe style thing. That's why they say all new storyline, and why it makes sense in this version of the story where multiple avatars are involved. So that's that. Now, as for the date, expected, note that is not an exact release date, it just says expected August 28th, 2024. I was told to sort of like, hey, mention this in the video. I don't know if this means the game is actually coming out on August 28th, or just that this is the latest possible date for the game. Because I'm pretty sure the way it works on these Apple kind of preview things is that they're a little stricter on, hey, you can't just have your app up for pre-order for like an eternity. if you have a pre-order, pre-registration thing, your game has to launch within a set amount of time. And I'm guessing this is just making that time public for the first time. I'm pretty sure the game is going to launch, it's basically at some point between now and at latest probably August 28th. It's a bit of an odd one because obviously like it's expected and not just the release date is. And I think on Discord when they mentioned this to me, it was like guideline. This is a guideline date for the game. So make of that what you will. So then, moving on, we have some Netflix Avatar news. And the first bit, kind of interesting. Netflix Avatar is officially casting for season 2. And of course, the most important role, the one they really need to get right, is Toph, of course. And so you can see here they are doing an open casting search for Toph. Now, this is interesting because it says shooting anticipated fall 2024. So for following production for like season 2 and 3, that is good to know. That the plan is to start shooting for the next season towards the end of the year. And they're hoping to get casting done, I'm guessing, before then. So an important couple of months for the show, but it's good to know the show is kind of ramping back up into production. So what this says is, of course, character is mid to late teens. Now, immediately you might be like, wait, what does that mean? Toph is meant to be 12. But you have to remember, based on season 1 and the production of this show, the timelines are going to have to be different. Like straight away, we basically know there is going to have to be probably a 2, maybe 3 year time skip between season 1 and 2, purely because of production reasons. This is the same reason they have not told us exactly when Sozin's Comet is returning, because they couldn't say 9 months when they didn't know when season 2 was going to shoot. And it's the same for like the actors. So with like Aang, he starts off the show at 12, but they shot that a couple of years ago, and it's going to be a year, probably getting the shooting and stuff like that through and stuff like that. So, of course, they're going to have to be like, well, when we start the show, Aang is going to have to be considered like 14 or 15. So if we want the age of Toph to basically match Aang, which the way it does in the show, they're both 12, you probably want a Toph who is 15, 16. And that just makes a lot of sense because you want the general age gaps of the group to probably be somewhat similar. But of course, because people look different and stuff like that, you can do a lot with wardrobe and kind of that side of things to make someone who maybe is like 18-year-old look a little bit younger and stuff like that. So that's why they kind of word it that way. But just be aware. Don't freak out about the fact that they're not looking specifically for someone who is 12. That's just the whole idea there. You can see here she's a sassy, confident, unfiltered, but for most of her life, her strength and formidable earthbending skills have been suppressed. Now she's on the run as the Avatar's earthbending master. She is uninhibited uninhibited to become the fierce warrior she believes she is inside. Dance and or martial arts experience is a plus. Shooting fall 2024. And then they do note actors who are blind or low vision are encouraged to submit. So they'd like to be accurate if possible, but they are, of course, I'm guessing, opening this up to anyone. That if they find the perfect Toph who doesn't have some sort of vision kind of issue, they're going to go with that, but they're going to try, if possible, to get someone who, if they find the right person who is perhaps blind or has a visual impairment, they're going to do it that way as well. So that's definitely interesting to note that, okay, the big one, a lot depends on this, because I think most people think they mostly got the casting for the gang right so far. It's mostly worked. This is the key next step. Otherwise, like in terms of season 2 characters that they really need to like nail the casting for, who do they really need? Long Feng really feels like Long Feng, the Earth King, and then it does feel like for the most part, like everyone else is sort of like, yeah, you should be fine with them. But yeah, Toph, Long Feng are probably the key ones at this point to probably get right. There is another little bit of Netflix Avatar news. And that is that it seems like the show for season 2 is going to be moving away from using the volume, which of course is the giant sort of wall of screens type thing that they used on like The Mandalorian, they used on season 1 of the show. It seems like they're moving away from that. I think the idea with this is that it caused more problems in production than it probably needed to. Because I'm pretty sure a large part of the reason why the show was sort of delayed, and it was like six months to a year behind where it should have been, is that it was meant to be, earlier, is just that they had to do a lot of post-production work to make sure that the show actually looked good. And I think the fact that they're moving away from it probably means that, okay, this is not the way we want to do this. We are probably better just using sets and then doing CG stuff afterwards, rather than specifically choosing to use the volume effectively. So basically, good to know. Netflix Avatar is ramping up again. Obviously the idea at this point is that, like, I think season 1 was mostly considered like okay, decent, a platform to build on. If they can get the season 2 stuff right, it could take the show to the next level. That's the kind of expectations in terms of where we're at with this. But we'll move on to the last piece of news. And it is Avatar Studios news, though, again, as usual, it is relatively minor, but kind of, okay, nice to know. So there's been an update to the Avatar Studios website. Nothing hugely significant, but some stuff that's been needed for a while. So we scroll down and look, oh wow, finally, an About Us section. And you can see when you open the menu, it is in fact an About Us section. This is where you are brought to here. So we have Mike and Brian, and it says here, in 2021, Nickelodeon founded Avatar Studios to be led by Mike and Brian, co-creators of Avatar and Korra. The division is designed to create original content spanning animated series and movies based on the beloved works of the two series. Avatar Studios also helps to guide the creative development of all official products and experiences by the studio's partners. This site is your destination hub for official social communities, shop links, and new content updates coming from the world of Avatar. They definitely need more regular updates if they want, especially that final bit, to be true. This website does not get updated in line with new content, in that it doesn't have anything about the comics, and there is of course an upcoming comic coming out, so they need to get on that, and they need to talk more about their animated stuff, because this is the first time the website actually has information that says that there is new Avatar content coming. And it's been crazy that there hasn't been for all of these months. But the news here is really just that it says original content spanning animated series. If you've been following the news in detail, you will know animated series has surprisingly not come up that much, especially recently. It's been a lot of focus on, of course, the movie, the first movie. We know there are 3 movies planned. But you have to go back a couple of years to get to the last time animated series were directly referenced. It goes back to a lot of 2021, 2022 stuff talking about animated series. Now, perhaps what Brian was talking about on the last Braving the Elements podcast, when he mentioned they got a new artist in, what he's working on currently has a little bit of a different style, and he really likes it. That probably is an animated series, I'm guessing, because I'm guessing the movies won't try and do anything super kind of crazy different than typical Avatar, whereas they might be a little bit more experimental in the series. So they haven't officially properly announced that, and that we don't know for sure, absolutely confirmed, that like Project 2 is an animated series. The rumors all seem to be maybe suggesting that the plan is launch with a movie and then somewhat reasonably shortly afterwards a series will hit, because they want to have a sense of kind of continuity and not have an eternity between the projects to really get across the idea that Avatar is back. So they kind of want to have that happen. But it is nice to see a new 2024 statement confirming that Avatar Studios is in fact working on animated series and movies. That's really, really good to know, even if there's not too much kind of extra information to talk about there, of course. The other thing is just that there is a Meet the Characters section, which it's fine. Like, it's these little fact files that are mostly just about the character's personality. It doesn't really mention a lot of, like, I suppose, super specific details about what happens to them over the course of the series. It's mostly who they are as a person. So there's stuff like that. So yeah, it's like even with Aang's one, I believe, like, it doesn't specifically mention he's the Avatar anywhere, except for the fact that his skills include, of course, all 4 elements, of course. Otherwise, it's pretty nice. None of the images, as far as I'm aware, with these characters are new. I think we've seen all of these pieces of stock art before. And I like that they at least cover a few characters. They don't just stop it as, like, the main 5 characters and maybe, like, Iroh or something like that. Now, it includes what you would consider most of the main cast to be. I would say the only character who feels properly missing here is Mei. Like, Suki, really cool that they've included her. Ty Lee, great. But why Azula, Ty Lee, and no Mei? Because I feel like, how many characters do we have here? So 5, 10, 11, 12... I do think to a certain degree Avatar is one of those shows that, like, there's like 13 sort of key characters that, like, especially for, like, merchandise lines and stuff like that, these are the characters you need to do. You need to do your full team Avatar, so your main 5 plus Suki, of course. You have your Azula, team Azula, Azula, Mei, Ty Lee. You have your main villain, Ozai, plus Appa Momo, and then, of course, Iroh, of course, has to be included in that as well. Otherwise, you're stretching beyond that. You're kind of like, should Zhao be included because he's a notable kind of Book 1 villain? Should Long Feng be included because he's a notable Book 2 villain? Something like that. But you've got your key characters minus Mei here, but also no Korra. Is a bit interesting. But I do like that at the very least in the About Us section, they did mention Korra here. So that's pretty good. So yeah, in the comments, let me know what your thoughts are on Avatar Realms Collide. Finally, some stuff happening for Apple users. But also, we're approaching getting a release date, even if this is maybe not super concrete. So let me know your thoughts on that. Casting for Toph is happening. They're going to move away from using the volume. I'm not sure if that means entirely or just they'll still use it a little bit. Who knows? But that should probably help production potentially. And then, yes, Avatar Studios mentioning animated series officially for the first time in a while. What are your thoughts on all of this stuff? But yes, let me know below. That's been the video. Thanks for watching and bye.